On June 27, 2014, the quiet community of Littleton, Colorado was shaken by a gruesome discovery. Richard Engelbert, a 48-year-old successful real estate agent, was found dead in his basement, strangled with a luxury belt. As investigators began to unravel the case, they uncovered a complex web of lies and manipulation that would shock the entire community. What led to such a brutal act against this respected member of society? How did detectives piece together the truth behind this shocking crime? Richard Engelbert, a 48-year-old real estate agent in Littleton, Colorado, appeared to have it all. Known for his charisma and ability to close deals, he was a successful professional at the prestigious Coldwell Banker brokerage firm. Richard's colleagues often praised his work ethic and professional demeanor, and his listings showcased beautiful homes with polished charm in the competitive Denver metro area market. Richard cultivated an image of the perfect family man, actively involved in the local community. He served on the board of the Littleton Chamber of Commerce and volunteered at his stepson's school events. He and his wife Lisa hosted frequent dinner parties in their upscale suburban home, inviting friends and colleagues to admire their tastefully decorated residence. Beneath this carefully constructed facade, tensions were brewing. Richard's long hours at the office and frequent business trips began to raise eyebrows among those closest to the family. Lisa, once known for her vibrant personality, seemed increasingly withdrawn at social gatherings. Their stepson Harrison, a young man in his early 20s, was rarely seen at family events, his absence explained away with vague references to personal issues. The pressure to maintain their perfect image weighed heavily on the Engelberts. In a community where appearances meant everything, Richard worked tirelessly to ensure that every aspect of their lives appeared flawless, from their designer clothes to their carefully curated social media presence. As months passed, small cracks began to appear in the Engelbert family's veneer. Observant neighbors noticed heated arguments coming from the house late at night, contrasting sharply with the family's usual calm demeanor. Richard's smile seemed more forced at community events, and his once impeccable appearance showed signs of neglect. The first public indication that something was amiss came during a charity gala in May 2014. Richard, usually the life of the party, appeared distracted and on edge. When a colleague innocently inquired about Harrison's well-being, Richard's uncharacteristic outburst shocked those nearby. He abruptly left the event, leaving Lisa to make awkward apologies for his behavior. In the weeks that followed, Richard's absences from work became more frequent. His real estate listings began to show signs of neglect. Clients reported difficulty reaching him, and deals that should have been straightforward started to fall through. It was clear that the perfect life Richard Engelbert had worked so hard to project was beginning to unravel. As spring turned to summer in Littleton, the Engelbert family retreated further from public view. The once bustling household grew quiet, and neighbors rarely saw the family together. Little did anyone know that behind closed doors, a storm was brewing, one that would soon explode into a tragedy that would shatter the illusion of perfection forever. While the Engelbert family's public image crumbled, a deeper story of struggle and pain unfolded behind closed doors. At the center of this turmoil was Harrison Engelbert, Richard's 21-year-old stepson. Harrison's journey from troubled teen to aspiring psychologist would prove crucial in understanding the tragedy that was about to unfold. Harrison's battle with substance abuse began in his teenage years. He cycled in and out of rehab facilities and 12-step programs, desperately trying to overcome his addiction. Despite the challenges he faced, Harrison was determined to turn his life around. He enrolled in a local community college, pursuing a degree in psychology. hoping to gain insight into his own struggles and help others facing similar battles. However, Harrison's path to recovery was far from smooth. The toxic relationship with his stepfather, Richard, created a constant source of emotional distress, threatening to derail his progress. The complex and often dysfunctional interactions within the Engelbert household created an environment ripe for relapse. The impact of Harrison's substance abuse on the family was profound. In the Engelbert home, Harrison's struggles became a source of tension, shame, and secrecy. Richard and Lisa's efforts to maintain their perfect public image only added to the pressure, creating a powder keg of emotions ready to explode. As Harrison worked to rebuild his life, attending classes and therapy sessions, the weight of the family's secrets grew heavier. His efforts to stay clean were constantly undermined by the toxic atmosphere at home. The young man found himself caught between his desire for a better future and the dark pull of his past, a conflict that would ultimately lead to tragedy. Little did Harrison know that his quest for personal growth and understanding would soon collide with a shocking revelation about his stepfather. This secret, hidden beneath layers of lies and manipulation, would shatter the fragile stability Harrison had worked so hard to achieve and set in motion a chain of events that would end in violence and heartbreak. In the world of true crime, the secret affair between Richard and Harrison Engelbert stands out as a particularly shocking case. The illicit relationship began 2 years before the tragic events of June 2014, when Harrison was 19 years old. Over time, their encounters became more frequent and daring, with Richard often using his real estate job as a cover. He arranged meetings at empty properties he was supposed to be showing to clients, adding an element of risk to their forbidden encounters. As the affair progressed, the atmosphere within the Engelbert household grew increasingly tense. Lisa, Richard's wife, and Harrison's mother began to notice changes in both of their behaviors. Hushed arguments and long silences became the norm, creating a palpable sense of unease in the home. Harrison found himself torn between his loyalty to his mother and his complicated feelings for Richard, struggling to navigate an increasingly difficult situation. The breaking point came when Harrison accidentally discovered evidence of Richard's infidelity with other men. This revelation shattered the already fragile dynamic between them, leaving Harrison feeling betrayed and manipulated. He realized that he was just one of many in Richard's web of deceit. Overwhelmed by anger and despair, Harrison confronted Richard about his discovery. The ensuing argument was explosive, laying bare all the pain and resentment that had built up over the past 2 years. As the truth of their relationship threatened to come to light, the pressure within the Engelbert household reached a critical point, setting the stage for the tragic events that would soon unfold. Richard Engelbert's carefully crafted public image masked a complex web of deception that extended far beyond his personal life. As investigators would later discover, Richard had cultivated an extensive network of fraudulent business practices, using his position as a real estate agent to facilitate illegal financial transactions. Richard's method was calculated and effective. He would create fake property listings and manipulate sale prices, providing him with opportunities for money laundering and embezzlement. These business deals became increasingly frequent, raising suspicions among his colleagues at Coldwell Banker. Richard's once impeccable work ethic began to slip, with clients complaining about discrepancies in property values and mysterious fees. The risk of exposure grew with each passing day. Richard's computer was filled with falsified documents and financial records, forcing him to be ever vigilant about keeping his files encrypted and secure. He created elaborate systems of shell companies and offshore accounts to hide his illicit gains. Despite his precautions, close calls became more common. On one occasion, a routine audit nearly uncovered Richard's fraudulent activities, forcing him to quickly fabricate a series of legitimate-looking transactions. The emotional toll of maintaining his criminal enterprise weighed heavily on Richard. He lived in a constant state of anxiety, fearing that his carefully constructed house of cards could collapse at any moment. The stress manifested physically, with Richard experiencing insomnia, weight loss, and frequent headaches. His once charming demeanor became strained, and he found it increasingly difficult to maintain his public persona. Psychologists note that individuals engaged in chronic deception and white-collar crime often experience significant mental health challenges. Richard's compulsive need for financial gain and excitement had become all-consuming, driving him to take greater risks with each passing week. The thrill of his double life had become an addiction, one that threatened to destroy everything he had built. As Richard's behavior became more erratic, the potential consequences of his actions loomed large. His professional reputation, once sterling, was now at risk. Rumors began to circulate in Littleton's tight-knit real estate community about Richard's unreliability and strange behavior. At home, Lisa's suspicions grew, creating a tense atmosphere that Richard struggled to navigate. The breaking point came when Richard's illegal activities began to intersect with his personal relationships. His manipulation of property values and false listings had inadvertently affected some of his closest friends and family members, including Harrison. The realization that Richard's deception extended far beyond their personal relationship left Harrison feeling used and manipulated. Overwhelmed by anger and betrayal, Harrison confronted Richard on the evening of June 27, 2014. The argument that ensued would quickly escalate beyond either man's control, setting in motion a chain of events that would end in tragedy and forever alter the lives of everyone involved. As the clock struck 9 p.m. on June 27, 2014, Harrison and Richard's argument erupted into a violent confrontation that would shatter their secret world. The tension in the Engelbert household had been mounting for days, with Harrison growing increasingly agitated and Richard becoming defensive and irritable. The confrontation began in the living room, where Harrison demanded answers about Richard's infidelities. "How long have you been lying to me?" Harrison shouted, his voice trembling with anger. Richard, cornered and desperate, attempted to deflect. "You don't understand," he stammered. "It's not what you think." As voices raised and accusations flew, the argument quickly escalated beyond words. Harrison's eyes darted around the room, searching for something to latch onto. Richard, sensing the shift in his stepson's demeanor, took a step back. "Harrison, calm down," he pleaded, raising his hands in a placating gesture. The breaking point came when Richard made a grab for Harrison's phone, perhaps hoping to destroy evidence of his affairs. In that instant, something snapped inside Harrison. Without conscious thought, his hands closed around a nearby luxury belt, a gift from Richard that now felt like a mockery. In a matter of seconds, the accessory transformed into a lethal weapon. Harrison, driven by a surge of uncontrollable fury, wrapped the belt around Richard's neck and began to squeeze. Richard's eyes widened in shock and fear as he realized the gravity of the situation. The struggle that ensued was brief but brutal. Richard fought desperately for his life, his fingers clawing at the leather, cutting off his air supply. "Stop!" he gasped, his face turning red, then purple. But Harrison, fueled by adrenaline and rage, maintained his grip. Within minutes, Richard's struggles weakened, and he collapsed to the floor. As Richard's body went still, the full weight of what had just occurred came crashing down on Harrison. The young man stared in shock at his stepfather's lifeless form, the reality of his actions slowly sinking in. The sound of his own ragged breathing filled the now silent room. Sirens wailed in the distance, signaling the approach of law enforcement. Harrison knew that his life would never be the same again. As the flashing lights drew closer, he remained frozen in place, the belt still clutched in his trembling hands, a grim testament to the tragic conclusion of their toxic relationship. Detective James Cattle arrived at the Engelbert residence shortly after the initial 911 call. The scene that greeted him was one of violence and chaos. Bloodstains marred the once pristine carpet and furniture, telling a silent story of Richard Engelbert's final moments. The detective's trained eye immediately picked up on signs of a fierce struggle, suggesting that Richard had fought desperately for his life. Cattle and his team worked methodically, collecting evidence and interviewing family members and neighbors. Wendy Engelbert, Richard's wife, provided a solid alibi, having been at work during the estimated time of the murder. Despite this, Cattle made a mental note to keep a close eye on her interactions in the coming days. As the investigation progressed, conflicting evidence began to emerge. Richard's phone revealed a series of suspicious messages and calls, hinting at a secret life that extended far beyond his public persona. The detective found himself piecing together a complex puzzle of illicit meetings and hidden relationships, each new revelation adding another layer of complexity to the case. The breakthrough came on July 3, 2014, when forensic lab results revealed an unexpected twist. The hidden camera footage provided undeniable proof of Harrison's involvement in the murder. This discovery sent shockwaves through the investigation team, shedding light on the true nature of the family's dysfunction. Armed with this crucial evidence, Detective Cattle brought Harrison in for questioning. Faced with the irrefutable video footage, the young man's carefully constructed alibi crumbled. In a tense interrogation room, Harrison finally confessed to the crime, his words painting a picture of a family torn apart by secrets and lies. As the investigation drew to a close, Detective Cattle reflected on the tragic series of events that had led to this moment. The Engelbert case would go down as one of the most complex and emotionally charged investigations of his career, a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of hidden truths and unresolved conflicts. With the evidence secured and Harrison's confession on record, the focus shifted to the impending legal proceedings. The prosecution began building their case, preparing to lay bare the dark secrets of the Engelbert family in a court of law. The trial of Harrison Engelbert began on August 15, 2014, drawing significant attention from local and national media. As the proceedings unfolded, a startling defense strategy emerged that challenged the jury's preconceptions about guilt and manipulation. District Attorney Laura Mitchell presented the prosecution's case, emphasizing the premeditated nature of the crime. However, the defense, led by advocate Z. Barnes, took a different approach. Barnes argued that Harrison's actions resulted from intense emotional turmoil and years of manipulation from both Richard and his mother. This strategy aimed to humanize Harrison and shed light on the dysfunctional family dynamics that led to the tragic event. As the trial progressed, the emotional impact on the Engelbert family became increasingly apparent. Wendy Engelbert, Harrison's mother and Richard's wife, sat stoically in the courtroom as the details of the affair and subsequent murder were laid bare. Her reactions, ranging from shock to grief, were closely watched by the jury and media alike. The community of Littleton, once enamored with the Engelberts' perfect facade, now grappled with the dark realities exposed during the trial. Neighbors and acquaintances who had been deceived by Richard's charisma and Harrison's troubled facade struggled to reconcile their memories with the disturbing truths revealed in court. As the trial neared its conclusion, tension in the courtroom reached a fever pitch. Both the prosecution and defense made impassioned final arguments, leaving the jury with the difficult task of weighing the evidence and conflicting narratives presented. On September 5, 2014, after days of deliberation, the jury reached their decision. Harrison Engelbert was found guilty of second-degree murder. The verdict indicated that while the jury believed Harrison had acted in a fit of rage, they did not find sufficient evidence of premeditation. The judge sentenced Harrison to 25 years in prison, without the possibility of parole. As the sentence was read, a mix of emotions swept through the courtroom. Some felt justice had been served, while others questioned whether the punishment truly fit the complex nature of the crime. The Engelbert case highlights the devastating consequences of family secrets and manipulation. Richard's deception ultimately led to his own downfall, profoundly impacting those closest to him. Harrison, trapped in a cycle of abuse and betrayal, now faces a lengthy prison sentence for his actions. Mental health professionals stress the importance of open communication and seeking professional help to address family trauma. Unresolved issues can result in long-term emotional distress and dysfunction, as evidenced by the Engelbert family's experience. Family therapy, support groups, and counseling services offer valuable resources for families to work through their problems together. This tragic story exposes the complexities of human relationships and serves as a cautionary tale about the far-reaching impact of unaddressed family issues. The Engelbert case underscores the need for honesty, communication, and support within families, as well as the potential societal costs when these elements are lacking. The consequences of their choices will likely reverberate for years to come, reminding us of the importance of addressing family problems before they escalate.